Picture this. A violent royal kidnapping in the dead of night, leaving like 100 men bleeding out in the dust.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and a desperate prince hiding behind the saffron robes of a holy disguise. Plus, you've got this revered saint caught right in the middle of a deadly clash of egos.
Right, right.
And finally, a princess who decides that when every physical wall has been breached, the only fortress left standing is her own mind. Welcome to the deep dive, everybody.
It is quite the setup.
It really is. So today's mission is unpacking a single, just profoundly powerful narrative from Munshi Premchand's legendary Mansarovar collection.
Ah, yes.
It's a story titled Mariada Kevidi, which translates to the Altar of Honor.
Such a fitting title, too.
All right. And hey, if you want us to keep decoding these incredible complex stories for you, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the Simplified Summary YouTube channel. Drop a like on this video and, leave your thoughts in the comments down below.
Yes, please do. Your support is literally the engine that keeps this channel running.
Exactly. So let's head straight to the legendary city of Chitter. Because to understand the gravity of this story, you really have to understand the soil it takes place on.
Yeah, the location is everything here.
Historically, Chitter is this place famous for fierce Rajput pride. I mean, this is a landscape defined by massive battles, sieges, and, unwavering clan loyalty.
Right, where death is always preferred over dishonor.
Exactly. But as our story opens, the city is actually swept up in an entirely different kind of fervor.
And that contrast is just essential. The rigid, kind of blood-soaked history of the city is temporarily overshadowed by this blissful devotional singing of Mira at the Ranchaji temple.
Yeah, people are flocking from all over the region just to hear her sweet voice.
Because she's essentially intoxicating the masses with divine love. The temple becomes this liminal space, really.
Like a safe haven.
Exactly. For a few hours a day, the strict, crushing hierarchies of the outside world just seem to melt away in the presence of religious ecstasy.
Oh, I see.
But the tension underlying the entire narrative is that those hierarchies haven't actually disappeared. They are just waiting at the temple doors.
Oh, man. That's ominous.
Right. We are looking at a masterclass in human psychology that asks a really dangerous question. What happens when the pure, borderless nature of divine devotion inevitably collides with the violent, fragile reality of earthly clan pride?
And that collision happens almost immediately. Because among the massive crowds flocking to hear Mira are two highly significant guests. First, we have the Sahib of Jalawar. He's a man of immense status, and he's brought along his famously beautiful and virtuous daughter, Princess Prabha.
Okay, so the royals are in the house.
Yeah, and across the temple courtyard, we have the young Prince of Mandar. So what unfolds next is this silent romance. But honestly, calling it a meet-cute just doesn't do justice to the stakes involved.
No, not at all. Meet cute is way too light for this.
Right, because Prabha and the prince, they fall head over heels in love without ever speaking a single word to one another.
Oh.
They simply exchange these intense, lingering glances through the crowds at the temple. And after that, he just starts wandering the streets beneath her window like some tragic poet.
Of course he does.
And she watches him wistfully from her balcony, entirely consumed by a love they cannot act on.
Because they are completely paralyzed by their own social standing. I mean, in this highly structured Rajput society, young nobles do not simply, introduce themselves and court one another.
Yeah, they don't have dating apps back then.
Exactly. Their marriages are strategic alliances dictated entirely by their elders. So the silence of their romance isn't just shyness, it is a manifestation of their total lack of agency.
That's so tragic.
It really is. They are prisoners of their pedigree, experiencing this profound emotional awakening in a society that views personal desire as entirely irrelevant, if not outright dangerous.
But Mira sees everything. She's highly perceptive, and she notices this silent, agonizing love between Prabha and the prince.
Saint sees all.
Yeah, and moved by their quiet devotion to one another, she decides to step out of her purely spiritual lane. She actually approaches Rao Sahib directly and proposes a marriage between his daughter and the prince.
Which is a bold move.
It is. She tries to play the peacemaker, the matchmaker. And on paper, you would assume, a blessing and a suggestion from a revered, holy figure would be the ultimate honor.
You would think so, yeah.
But Rao Sahib's reaction is just explosive. He's viscerally outraged. He views his proposal as an unforgivable insult to his status.
Wow.
And he audaciously threatens to complain to the Rana, the king of Chitter, about Mira's overreach.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to a modern listener, erupting in anger at a saint who is just trying to help your daughter get married seems completely unhinged.
It does seem like a massive overreaction.
Right. It's tempting to look at Rao Sahib as just a shallow social climber, but that doesn't explain the sheer venom of his reaction. It feels less like a social faux pas and more like a threat to his actual existence.
Yeah, you're picking up on something crucial there. So in a warrior clan ecosystem, why does a mismatched marriage proposal trigger a response like, mutually assured destruction?
Well, what's fascinating here is the mechanics of Mariada. We translate it roughly as honor, dignity, or boundaries, right?
Right.
But in this specific cultural ecosystem, Mariada is not just a personal feeling of pride. It is the ultimate currency. It's literally the structural integrity of their entire civilization.
Oh, so it's foundational.
Completely. Rausash's reaction is rooted in cold, hard survival. In a feudal warrior society, if you accept a marriage that is perceived as lesser or unequal, you are publicly signaling weakness to rival clans.
Ah, like blood in the water.
Exactly. It is an admission that your bloodline is depreciating in value. You are completely right to compare it to mutually assured destruction.
So he's backed into a corner.
Basically, if Rao Sahib accepts this match, especially one suggested by someone outside the traditional political channels, he isn't just making a progressive parenting choice. He is practically hanging a sign on his territory, inviting other clans to conquer him. His outrage is a systemic defense mechanism.
Man. And his desperate need to defend that status sets off an absolute nightmare. This brings us to the inciting incident that just shatters the entire narrative.
His dominoes start falling.
Yeah. Rao Sahib takes his outrage to the Rana of Chitter, expecting the king to discipline Mira and, mediate the dispute. But while hearing the complaint, the Rana also hears detailed descriptions of Princess Prabha's legendary beauty.
Uh-oh. That's a mistake.
A huge mistake. Because the king doesn't mediate. He decides to violently take her for himself. The text gives us this incredibly visceral, brutal sequence.
It's really hard to read.
It is. The Rana shatters the peace of the region, swoops in with his royal guard, scoops Prabha up onto his horse, and gallops away into the night.
Just unbelievable.
And behind him, he leaves 100 men writhing on the ground in a bloody clash. The dust, the screaming horses, the severed limbs is a horrifying juxtaposition to the peace of the temple. And the Mandar forces the prince's men. They arrive far too late to stop the slaughter.
It is a devastating escalation, and honestly, it exposes the hypocrisy at the very top of the social pyramid.
How so?
Well, the Rana is the sovereign, right? He is theoretically the ultimate protector of Mariyada, the man tasked with upholding the laws and boundaries of the society.
Right, he's the guy in charge of the rule.
Exactly. Yet, the moment his own desire is piqued, he leverages the massive military power of the state to commit an act of blatant, murderous thuggery. He violates the very social codes he demands his subjects die for.
And his behavior in the palace afterward is even more jarring. We get this tense, claustrophobic confrontation between the Rana and his new captive, Prabha.
Such a powerful scene.
It really is. Because instead of admitting he took her by force, the Rana actually tries to justify the bloodbath philosophically. He compares himself to Lord Krishna abducting Rukmini from Hindu mythology.
Oh, wow. Framing his violence as divine destiny.
Yes. He frames it as this romantic destiny. He tells Prabha that witnessing Mira's pure love for God at the temple made him thirsty for earthly love. He uses this highly specific metaphor, arguing that a dying man who drinks from a muddy puddle cannot be considered a sinner.
That is some serious mental gymnastics.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting, because the Rana is deploying a classic psychological playbook here.
Yeah.
He acts like the romantic hero of an epic poem, using false vulnerability to completely absolve himself of predatory behavior.
It's so manipulative.
Extremely. He paints himself as a helpless victim of his own desires, which, conveniently erases the 100 dead bodies he left in the dust to get what he wanted.
That analysis of his false vulnerability is absolutely spot on. Autocrats and individuals with unchecked power frequently use that exact cognitive dissonance.
Yeah, they have to justify it to themselves somehow.
Right. By equating his lust to a man dying of thirst, he frames his violent entitlement as a biological imperative, like it's a force of nature that he cannot be held responsible for.
Which is just vile.
It is, because he completely strips away Prabha's humanity and agency. He treats her not as a person, but as the water meant to quench his supposedly uncontrollable thirst.
But Prabha refuses to play the role of the passive vessel. She is stoic and her defiance is absolute.
I love her response in this scene.
It's incredible. She looks this powerful, violent king in the eye and tells him that a Rajput daughter can protect her own virtue without shedding a single drop of blood.
Chills.
I know. She declares that her heart is already married to the Prince of Mandar, and then she makes a vow that just chills the room. She tells the Rana she will live and die in his prison, but she will never, ever allow his name to cross her lips.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of female agency in a deeply patriarchal warrior culture, Prabha's response is the most formidable weapon she could possibly wield.
Because she has nothing else left.
Exactly. Physically, she has been entirely overpowered. The Rana's armies have slaughtered her defenders, his guards surround her, the physical walls have been breached.
Right.
But she realizes that true Mariada isn't just about societal status, it is an inner moral boundary. By refusing to engage, by denying him even the sound of his name, she constructs an impenetrable fortress in her own mind.
It's like she's locking him out entirely.
Yes. The Rana has all the military might in the world, but he cannot conquer her will. She reclaims her agency through sheer, uncompromising moral defiance.
So Prabha has built this impenetrable mental fortress. But, physical fortresses have back doors. And this is where the story asks a really uncomfortable question.
Okay, brace yourselves.
What happens when the quote-unquote good guys decide that playing by the rules is a luxury they can no longer afford? Because the narrative shifts away from the palace and back to Mira.
The saint is back in the mix.
Yep. A sadhu, a holy ascetic, comes to her seeking alms. But when she offers her prasad, her holy offering, he refuses to accept it unless she makes a solemn vow to grant his wish first.
Which is a huge red flag.
Massive red flag. And once she binds herself to this promise, the holy man drops the act. He reveals himself to be the Prince of Mandar in disguise.
What a twist.
And his demand is incredibly specific. He forces Mira to promise she will open the secret door of the royal palace for him at midnight.
Which is an astoundingly manipulative maneuver. To understand the weight of this, we have to look at the mechanics of a Brahma Phans, or a divine trap.
A divine trap.
Yeah. In this theological framework, a vow made to a holy person, or a vow made by a saint like Mira, is not just a promise. It is cosmic law.
Oh, so you can't just take it back?
Not at all. Breaking it doesn't just mean you lose credibility. It implies literal spiritual damnation and cosmic retribution. The prince knows exactly what he's doing. He is weaponizing Mira's spiritual purity against her.
Wait, I have to pause here. The noble prince, the tragic romantic hero of the story, is essentially blackmailing a saint.
Basically, yes.
He is exploiting her religious devotion to sneak into a castle. I mean, that completely contradicts the entire premise of him being the righteous, honorable alternative to the violent king.
It definitely complicates things.
And when Mira rightfully protests, pointing out that Rajput culture fundamentally rejects deceit, the prince gives her a chillingly cold reply. He says that the rules of honor only apply when both sides possess equal strength.
And right there, the prince sacrifices his own moral high ground. He adopts the logic of the oppressor. It really highlights the tragedy of systemic power imbalances.
Wow, yeah.
The prince realizes that playing by the honorable rules of Mariada against a king who breaks those rules at will is a death sentence. So to fight a corrupt system, he allows himself to be corrupted by it.
And becomes what he hates.
Exactly. He decides that the ends justify the means, completely discarding the ethical framework he supposedly represents.
Leaving Mira hopelessly trapped. She is bound by a cosmic vow she cannot break without facing spiritual ruin. So, she does the only thing she can. She goes directly to the Rana.
She tells the king.
She confesses everything. She tells the king she is caught in this Brahma Phans, lays out the prince's plan to use the secret door, and leaves the decision entirely in the Rana's hands.
Oh my goodness.
Right. He can either honor her holy word and allow the door to be opened, or he can protect his fortress and force her to break the vow. Now, I fully expected the ruthless Rana to laugh in her face and double the guard.
Right. That would make sense for his character.
Instead, the Rana tells Mira she is the mistress of the house and does not need his permission to open the door. He just lets it happen.
Wow.
I know. I'm looking at the Rana's reaction, and it doesn't feel like genuine respect to me. It feels like a convenient loophole. Does he just use her vow so he doesn't have to look like the bad guy, or is there something deeper going on here?
This raises an important question about the fluidity of honor in the hands of powerful men. The irony is staggering. The Rana, who just murdered dozens of men and kidnapped a woman without a second thought, suddenly bows his head to the sanctity of a saint's vow. Your hypothesis about a convenient loophole is highly accurate.
So it is just a cop-out.
Pretty much. It demonstrates that honor in this story is entirely subjective. The Rana bent the rules of society to justify his violent lust, and now he bends them again to ease his own guilt.
To feel like a good person again.
Right. By allowing the door to open, he gets to play the role of the pious, respectful king. He gets to prove to himself that he is still a righteous man who fears divine law. He conveniently ignores the fact that he is currently holding a woman hostage.
Wow.
Yeah, each man in this narrative twists the concept of Mariada to suit his own immediate psychological needs.
It is a masterclass in rationalization. Everyone is justifying their own descent into the mud. Which brings us to the climax of Midnight Reckoning.
The tension here is incredible.
The imagery Premchand uses here is so moody and evocative. It's the dead of night. Prabha is sitting utterly alone in her dark prison cell, staring at a single burning lamp.
Such a stark visual.
And she starts to compare herself to that lamp, but the metaphor turns incredibly bleak. She realizes the lamp is burning itself away to provide light for others, but she's burning and suffering for absolutely nothing.
Heartbreaking.
She looks up through the bars at the starry sky, and the isolation is so heavy she seriously contemplates ending her own life. She wants to extinguish herself just to escape the cruel mockery her existence has become.
It is the ultimate dark night of the soul. Prabha has successfully held her moral boundary. She has defended her inner Mariada against the king.
She won that battle.
But the cost of that defense is total, crushing isolation. She is unbroken, but she is entirely alone, and that isolation is beginning to fracture her spirit.
But right at the edge of that despair, the silence of the prison is broken. Mira arrives at the cell, and she brings a yogi with her.
The rescue team.
Yes, this is a handsome young man dressed in saffron robes, wearing a deerskin and carrying a sitar. He begins to play, and the music is so mesmerizing, so deeply emotional, that it viscerally pierces through Prabha's wall of despair.
A glimmer of hope.
Exactly. The illusion, however, doesn't last long. As she looks closer at the musician, the truth snaps into focus. Prabha recognizes him. It is the Prince of Mandar, standing right in front of her. The rescue has arrived.
It is the exact reunion they have both been desperately, agonizingly fighting for since they first locked eyes in the temple courtyard.
But the way it plays out flips the script entirely. It isn't a fairy tale embrace. Prabha looks at the man she loves and tells him that by donning the robes of a yogi, by using this elaborate disguise, he has achieved what he could never manage as a prince.
She calls him out.
She does. She acknowledges him. She tells him he is now her husband and her beloved, but the moment of triumph instantly curdles. She delivers this absolutely crushing final blow. She looks at the prince and asks, "You deceived me and stained my soul. Who will answer for this?"
Devastating.
So what does this all mean? When I first read this, I was stunned. A moment that has been built up to be a joyous, heroic rescue feels completely devastating and hollow. Why does she react to her own salvation with such profound grief?
Because in that singular moment, Prabha realizes the inescapable core tragedy of the world they live in. The prince won her back, yes. But to accomplish that victory, he sacrificed his Rajput honor.
He cheated.
He used deceit, blackmail, and manipulation. And far worse than that, by sneaking into her cell under a false identity, he forced Prabha into a compromised moral position. He made her complicit in his deceit.
Oh, because he bypassed her rules too.
Exactly. Think about what she has endured. Prabha sacrificed everything, her freedom, her youth, and nearly her own life, to maintain a pure, uncompromising moral boundary against the Rana.
She suffered unimaginably to keep her soul clean.
And the prince, the very man she did it all for, bypassed that boundary with a cheap trick. The altar of honor in the title isn't a metaphor for a wedding. It is an altar that demanded a blood sacrifice from every single character, and it ultimately claimed everyone's integrity.
Wow. Everyone lost.
Right. The Rana lost his honor to violent lust, the prince lost his to cynical pragmatism, and Prabha lost hers because the only way her love could be rescued was through a lie.
It is a staggering, haunting narrative. Munshi Premchand isn't just telling a story about star-crossed lovers. He is meticulously dissecting institutional hypocrisy.
He absolutely is.
He shows us how the rigid rules we build our societies upon can become traps, forcing even the most righteous people to become corrupt just to survive. It is an incredibly nuanced exploration of the lengths people will go to and the rationalizations they will invent when their desires clash with their principles.
Precisely. It strips away the romanticized veneer of the warrior culture and forces the reader to examine the psychological wreckage left behind when ego, power, and subjective honor collide. No one escapes the altar uncorrupted.
It really is a story that stays with you long after you finish it. And to all of you listening, especially our friends watching on the Simplified Summary YouTube channel, thank you for taking this deep journey with us into the heart of Chitter.
Yes, thank you all.
We are so passionate about bringing the hidden depths of classic literature out into the light. So before you go, please hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video, and most importantly, head down to the comments. We genuinely want to know your take on Prabha's final, devastating decision.
It's a tough one.
Was she right to feel that her soul was stained by his rescue? Or should she have accepted that survival in a corrupt world requires breaking the rules? Let us know what you think.
And as you head to the comments to debate that, I want to leave you with one final lingering question to mull over on your own.
Give it to us.
If you ever find yourself in a position where you have to fundamentally destroy your own moral code just to rescue the very thing you love, does the ultimate victory actually belong to you? Or does it belong to the exact corruption you were trying to fight?